Welcome back to another edition of Fly Tying for Beginners with Jim Misiura. Today I just want to show you a little bit. I'm going to make a bluegill fly, just kind of design your own. I'm going to make a wet fly, bluegill fly. I was at the local craft shop and I picked up these feathers. These are guinea bird wing feathers, and they're dyed different colors. You can see blue, purple, there's one natural, there's green, there's orange, there's yellow. I got some over here, and I made some bluegill flies with them. Little different, some different styles. There's one here. It's I got the guinea bird wing on there. Got some. This is the Hackle is guinea bird body feather for the Hackle. A little black chenille in there. I use yellow floss for a rib. Have a little guinea bird flank feathers, I guess you could call them, body feathers for the tail, stuff like that. There's a yellow one. Here, I like this one pretty good. This one is a claret colored one, and it's got the purple guinea bird wing, and the Hackle on this one is actually the Mallard flank dyed claret. And for the body on this one, I used the flank feather, and I tied the tail on, and then I just wrapped the rest of the feather up for the body, and it has a peacock rib on there. That's the color of that. It's kind of a little bit iridescent type. It was peacock on one side and orange on the other. So, but that's a nice little bluegill fly there too. And I used some purplish blue thread on that one. You could use the wing feather to make a wing, or you don't even need one. I just wrapped Hackle around this one, and this one, it has a the body is black. It's actually black pheasant tail that I wrapped up there, and then I found laying here was a green ostrich herl, so I palmered that through it. So we have that. These are definitely going to catch the panfish. But now I'm going to make an orange one. For this one, I'm going to make an orange one. I'm going to use an orange guinea bird wing feather. And for the tail and the Hackle, these are actually orange soft Hackles. This is probably from a Grizzly hen bird that they dyed orange. That'll make good one. For the tail, here you can see I have this is actually an after shaft feather. It's a long one, but it's turning into a regular feather. I'm going to use that for the tail, and I'm actually might just wrap the body with that too, and I'll put a rib on there, maybe a holographic rib. It's something to give it a little bit of flash with it. And we'll go with the peacock again, because this is a small one. This is like a 16-18, and you can see there's orange on one side and the peacock on the other. They call it peacock, but it's kind of, you can see how it's different colors there. The hooks that I'm using, these are just general purpose hooks. I really can't even remember where I got these from, but they're pretty old too, but they're going to be perfect for bluegills and bass or whatever in the warm water. I'm going to use some dark brown thread just so I have a dark head on it. And we're going to bring our thread back to the tail area and hold that thread at the 45, and you'll get nice tight wraps there. We're going to start out, we're going to go ahead and put that tail in there, that Grizzly after shaft feather. And we'll make this maybe about half the length of the hook shank. And one thing to remember when you're beginning fly tying, it doesn't take a lot of wraps to hold things into position. You know, for instance, there's like 3 wraps. I'm going to fold this back and I'm going to put 1 or 2 wraps right on top of it. Okay, now I'm going to take my rib, and this is the orange and peacock again, but I'm going to tie it so I can see the orange. I'm going to tie the peacock to the hook shank so I can see the orange, and when I wrap it you will see the peacock side. I'm going to go ahead and bring my thread right up the front, and we're going to put that in my material clip, put the rib in my material clip. I can go ahead and I can take this, and you can see there's a lot of fluff there. That's alright, because we could just trim that when we get it after it gets wrapped. You could twist this and just go ahead and wind that in there. And that's okay, that all of that fluff and bad, all of that big fluff there. And we'll bring that right up and stop that there. And we're going to give this a few wraps. Going to fold that back, and I'm going to put a couple of wraps right in front, and what I'm doing is pinching that together. That stem is now pinched between the threads, and we could go ahead and remove that. I'm going to pull everything up, because I'm going to cut this off with my scissors. I'm going to pull everything up, and I'm going to trim that nice and close. And we'll just even that right out. Okay, now I'm going to take my rib, and I'm going to counter wrap that, being the opposite direction I wrapped the body. And when you wrap your rib, make sure that you have tension on there. You don't want it coming apart on you. If you don't have that tension, it will come apart very easily, and then you'll get frustrated over it. And you can see that's a little bit, that body is still a little bit thick. Not a big deal. Let's give it a little bit more movement. But we can always go back and trim that one more time. And then I'm going to tie that off. Make sure you hold it tight while you're putting these couple securing wraps on there, because you're going the opposite direction with the thread, which is trying to remove the rib. If you didn't have the tension on there, it would actually push the rib to unwrap it. Fold it back, give it 2 or 3 wraps, and then you can trim that off. I'm going to go ahead and trim this up just a little bit more. Again, depending on, you know, this is yours. It's only a warm water or a you know, panfish fly. That little bit of movement and stuff is going to be good. Kind of like it's breathing or alive if that little fluff starts moving when it's in the water. Now I'm going to take the hen feather, and this is a really nice skinny stem on that. You would call it a blood stem. And you could tie this in either by the tip or by the butt section, depending on how thick the stem is. Since this is a really thin stem, I could probably get away with tying it in by the butt. But I'm going to go ahead and stand everything up. I'm holding the tip. I'm going to stand all of that up. I'm going to tie it in by that tip. Fold that back. Give it another 3 on top. Then I can cut that tip off. And I could give this a couple of wraps. Now, if you want to have less, a more sparse hackle, you could go ahead and remove the hackle from the top of the stem. When I tie this in, I put the concave side to the shank. So if I remove the top hackles, it's going to be a lot. That hackle will be more sparse. And being that this hackle is so heavy to begin with that soft hackle, it likes to stick together. Doesn't like to separate as much as a nice stiff dry fly hackle would. And then you put on as many wraps as suits your fancy there. And then we're going to tie this in. If you noticed, I kind of held that down, and you can see that space between the hackle and where I want to cut off. Instead of tying in more of that hackle onto the top, if I just go, I got a good chance of catching the barbels that I want to cut off. So I got about 3 in there. 3 or 4, can't remember. You can take your poke and snip, and poke and snip is just a cuticle trimmer. I really like this, especially for this kind of thing, and just touch that hackle stem and it cuts it. And if you haven't heard me talk about this before, you just take a piece of sandpaper and fold it in half and run it through there if it gets dull. I'm going to hold everything back. And we're going to come back on this a couple of wraps. Actually more than a couple, 4 or 5 thread wraps, thread widths to the back there. Because we are going to put a wing on there. And there we have that. Now I'm going to take the Guinea wing feather, and since the package does not come with a right and a left, these are all from the same side of the wing of the bird, I'm going to cut 2 slips. And we'll make them about 3/8 of an inch wide. And we're going to not try to we're going to match them up, but we're not going to worry that there's an inside and an outside of the feather. As I'll show you here, there's the outside of the feather and there's the inside. It's just a slightly different color. We're going to keep them together. We're going to make that feather just inside the tail there. I'll try to get a division on those hackles there. I'm going to hold everything, and we're holding the wing tight, and we want to try to keep that straight up and down. You don't want it to lay flat on there. You're going to take a loose loop, we're going to pull that straight down. And you'll see the front actually come up. Okay, just take a few wraps on that, and then we're going to pick that up and we're going to pinch that material between the threads, and now we can cut that off nice and close. Missed one. And now I can go ahead and finish that head up. See, I got a little bit of materials up the front there. I'm going to hold everything in my hand, move my thread back, hold everything in my hand. I'm going to give it a little bit of a burn. And that'll help clear that up a little bit. Tie off a head. We're going to take our whip finish, hold the thread out straight, take the Martelli style whip finish, put the hook over the thread, take the thread around the camel hump and bring it back. Then you invert the whip finish. There is your X, bring it down, and then just rotate it around. 2, 3, 4, 3 to 6 is good. Tighten that up. Once again, you don't have to put multiples on there, but once again, hook over the thread, around the camel hump, bring it back, invert it up, bring that X down to the hook shank. 1, 2, 3, 4, and pull that tight. Don't break it, just pull it tight. Go ahead and poke and snip that off. Take some of your head cement and put that head cement on there. And I use the Sally Hansen's hard as nail polish. And you see, when I get it, I clean the brush off and then I cut it to a point. And I like this one, so I just keep taking this one from bottle to bottle. A nice little bluegill wet fly in orange. Hope that you learned something from this. Hope that you would subscribe to my channel. Please refer me to your friends. Please visit my sponsors and let them know that I sent you. Make sure that when you subscribe, you hit the notification button so you don't miss any of my videos. If you'd like to purchase any flies from me, go to etsy.com/shop/theflymanjim. And if you don't see it there, just send me a message and I'll get right back to you and we'll figure out what you're looking for. And most of all, thank you very much for watching my videos.